Welcome to the Answers for Elders radio show. Meet the trusted experts who will give you straight answers and will help guide you on the path of later life care. Now, here's your host, founder, caregiver, and CEO, Suzanne Newman.
And welcome back, everyone, to Answers for Elders radio network, heard across the USA. And I am here with the amazing, wonderful Daphne Davis from Pinnacle Senior Placements. And we are talking about having those conversations. And Daphne, I want to talk this segment about those that have been in the hospital. They had an accident, whatever, and now they want to go home. I think this is something that happens a lot. They've been in rehab, they talk to a social worker, and they find out that, okay, insurance is running out. I'm sure you're aware of that little scenario, are you not?
Absolutely. It happens all the time. And because mom or dad was at home already and husband and wife were making this work, the natural place to go is back home. And that's not a bad thing to do if you have the services available to help you. And so I encourage people to talk to a social worker if they're coming out of a rehab situation or at the hospital, to talk to the social worker and ask them about in-home care.
Yes.
That is something that can supplement the family supporting mom or dad. And it can be a little bit expensive, and nationwide, I'd say probably an average is about $40 to $45 an hour. And there's usually a 4-hour minimum nationwide as well. So there's some restraints on that. It's also, but it's a time that you can leave the rehab, let's say from a rehab, and have a cushion of somebody to help mom or dad in the morning, let's say, to start their day. Or it might be more to end their day, or it might be to make sure there's 3 meals prepared or something like that. But it's a good way to transition back home if in fact it can be successful at home. So that's one thing. The other thing is I caution families to put too much stress on themselves. You've got your siblings, mom and dad have taken care of us all of our lives. We can take care of them now.
Yes.
And that is good for the short term, but not the long term. And I'll tell you why. Your relationships will suffer. And your primary relationship as son or daughter to your mom or dad will change. And the stress level increases. That's transferred to your mom and dad. Now the healing process is going to slow down because they're stressed, because they feel like they're bothering you, because you're in the sandwich generation and you're running kids to the soccer game and taking care of mom.
You just spelled it out. Every family that I know of goes through this, and that is so true.
Yeah. And so be realistic. Be realistic to maybe having a timeline of seeing how this will work, or setting goals that say, you know what, let's go home, but we're still going to continue PT and OT at home, physical therapy, occupational therapy at home. And we need to see progress.
Medicare will pay for, by the way.
Exactly right. Yep. They will pay for that. There's some caveats to that, but they will pay for that to start with. That's like an absolute. If someone's come out of rehab or come out of the hospital and they've been laying in the hospital for 3 or 4 or 5 days, there's atrophy. Give them the support of having somebody teach them what is the proper way to get out of bed now. You've been getting out of the same bed for 50 years, but what's the way to do it now after you've injured something? So those are the things that I would really recommend if you're headed back home.
And one thing I'm going to insert in that is oftentimes you want to go home because your spouse is 100%, able, and you don't want to leave your spouse. So you're in this situation of, how can we both stay together as long as possible? And staying at home is a vibrant option if the right services can be rendered.
Correct. And that's where somebody like myself, a placement agent, can tell you, you know what, you can have both of your highest values met. George, you can still have a puttering room, and Helen, you can still have somebody help you with your TED hose. It's possible.
Exactly.
I think sometimes families get overwhelmed and they think, I don't know anything, but I guess I'm supposed to. No, you're not. Did you know anything about childcare if you needed to get childcare? Did you know anything about choosing a college when you were choosing a college? No. Until you're faced with the life chapter, you're not going to know about it. And it's great and okay to ask for help and gather information.
And Daphne, what you're saying is so true, because again, we all think we're superwoman, superman, right? That we've got it under control. But I have also seen so many times that we're in a scenario where we are, overwhelmed, or we can't, but we don't realize that
No,
we're actually doing damage to the relationship. And that is so important. So right before we end, I want to, again, get your contact information to everyone. Please call Daphne if you have a senior loved one that might need a little bit of help. She can help you. She won't charge you. And Daphne, how do we reach you?
855-734-1500. And I encourage you to go to my website as well at pinnacleseniorplacements.com.
Fabulous. And everyone, Daphne and I, we're going to be right back right after this.
We at Answers for Elders thank you for listening. Did you know that you can discover hundreds of podcasts in our library on senior care? So visit our website and discover our decision guides that will help you also navigate decision making. Find us at answersforelders.com.